Hi, everybody. So this will be the last lecture for this first assignment, and we are going to go over the modify tools. Okay, so let me just go to our list. We've already gone over the basic drawing commands. That's what we started with yesterday. And now we're going to sort of keep working on our drawing and use some of these tools and play around with it. So my drawing looks a little different because I was playing with some of those. Here's Wendell making his normal appearance. It's odd. As soon as I get started, he's always. Let me see. There he is. Look at that. All comfy. As soon as I get started, he just runs in here. Okay, so here's the drawing we had originally made with the drawing commands. So let's go through how do we manipulate after we have something. Let's do move, copy, and stretch, the first three. So move's fairly straightforward. There's a couple ways to do it. Now, just so you know, we're primarily living in the Home tab under the Modify panel, which is the second one. So with Move, I can grab any element, grab any like point on that element aside from the sort of kind of snap handles that it gives you, and move this thing around. So here's a spline. I'm not going to grab any of these vertices. I'm just going to grab the line and move it. Here's a ellipse. I'm going to move this one down here. That's a real imprecise way to move things around on your screen. But if we need to say move something 2 feet to the right, 2 feet to the left, up or down, or whatever the case may be, we have to be more precise. So here's one way to do it. I'm going to select the object I want to move or the line, click move up here. Now it's asking me for a base point. I'll just click anywhere, say here, and I'll say move to the right. So I'm moving my mouse to the right 1 foot. Enter. So that just moved to the right 1 foot. Do that again. I'll select my object, go to the move, click anywhere in space. A lot of students feel the need to click the object to move it. That's fine. We can give it any base point. I could go way down here. I'm going to click once, give it a direction, say move that way to the left 1 foot. There it goes. Likewise, so in this method, I've selected the object first, then went to move and did everything. Likewise, I could click move first. It'll say select objects. Okay, this one, and this one. I'm done selecting objects. I'm going to hit enter or spacebar. And then I'm right back where I was before. I'll start here and I'll say move left 6 inches. There we go. Everything moved. Pretty straightforward. You will use that one all the time. Okay, next is copy. Same technique, almost exactly the same technique. I'm going to select an object, hit copy, give it a base point. I clicked once, give it a direction. Let's copy it down 6 inches. Boom, we've made a copy. It's already wanting you to do another one. I could keep going. Okay, now go down 1 foot. Okay, so I made 2 copies. I'll hit escape to be done, and I'm done with that command. Likewise, I could select copy first, select objects. Okay, this one, and this one. I'm done selecting objects, hit enter. Click anywhere in space, and I'll just copy it up to there, right in that direction. That looks pretty cool. Okay, escape. Now, how about this? I just copied these rectangles or parallelograms or rhombus or whatever up like diagonally. Let's say I want to repeat that exact same move. Okay, I'm going to click copy. I'm going to select those objects. I'm going to hit enter. Now I moved this first copy from this point to that point. So now I'm just going to use those points again. I'm going to say, yeah, move it from here to there again, boom. Now I've done exactly the same copy. Now I could say, man, I want to keep doing that. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to grab those three. Done selecting, hit enter. Now I'll say, yeah, go to there. Now go to there. Now go to there. Now go to there and there. And I could just keep going and going. That actually looks kind of cool. So that's copy. Pretty straightforward. The quick command for move is just M. So I could just click M, enter, select my objects, enter, move it. Quick command for copy, CO. Okay, C is circle. If you remember that from the last video, CO is copy. So I'll select something, CO. There it is. Enter. Give it a point, give it another point. I could keep copying this one. Okay, got my Madison College mug here. Delicious. Okay, so let's move on to stretch. This one, a little bit more challenging. So stretch, when would you use stretch? I use stretch quite a bit for things like, say I have a window in floor plan. So a window in floor plan is going to have the two walls coming in. It's going to have the frame of the window, the glass of the window, and all the different parts below the window, such as the sill and the frame below. We're going to talk at length about everything I just said, so don't worry if that was confusing. But the point I'm trying to make is that there are a lot of pieces right there, a lot of lines, a lot of objects. It's a little closer. A lot of lines and a lot of objects to sort of move and make wider. So if I want to move that window from a 2 feet to a 4 feet, I mean, what do I have to do? I have to move the wall over. I have to move the frames over. I have to move the glass over. With the stretch command, I can grab everything over there and sort of just stretch it over 2 feet. So I can make it a 2 foot to a 4 foot in one move. So now how you do that, we'll practice on this little hexagon here. So I'm going to go up to the stretch command. Okay, select objects. Now think of it this way. Select points or select vertices. Like let's say I want to stretch this guy out, this point out 2 feet, but leave the rest where they are. I'm just going to make a box from the bottom right. So I clicked once to the upper left. Looks like I selected the whole thing, but I didn't. I'm done selecting. I'm going to hit enter. And now I'm going to say, move that point from right here out 6 inches. Enter. There we go. So when I'm typing 6 inches, I'm doing 6 quotation marks. If you hadn't noticed that already. If I did just 6, it might default to 6 feet, but I'm not sure, but we can check. Let's do that again. Stretch, S, enter, select objects. I'm going to select these 2 points down here. Okay. Looks like it selected the whole object, but it didn't. Hit enter. Stretch that out in this direction. I clicked once. Gave it a direction. I'm going to put 6, enter, and that was 6 inches. So I didn't even do the inch symbol, but I'm just used to doing that. So now maybe I want to stretch this bottom one down 1 foot. S, enter, select using my selection box. Selected it, hit enter. Let's move it. Now I'm going to click out in space, move it down, give it a direction. So I clicked once, gave it a direction, 6, enter. So let's say this is a wall right here. Okay, it's a wall in floor plan. I need to stretch this out 1 foot. S, grab the 2 endpoints. I'm done selecting, enter. Specify a base point. I'll click here, move it to the right, 2 feet. I can't remember what I said initially, 2 feet. Boom. Now I just made that wall 2 feet longer. Stretch is maybe a little advanced, but you will use it, and it'll become more clear to you once we sort of get into the floor plan. But just practice just the way I did it there. So just to show you, so we just did the hot button command. I'll go to the button up here. I'll just click stretch. And it says select objects. I'll select that corner, hit enter, move it up in this way, and put it right there. So just a side joke for you, when I was in some of my initial jobs, sometimes my boss would kind of circle around us to make sure we were working and doing what we should be doing, and we would call that seaguling, because he just fly and hover above you. Not a good technique if you're a boss, let me tell you. But if he was right behind us, we would always zoom in on our floor plan like this, or whatever we're working on, and then we would do the stretch command, and we would do something like this, and just basically ruin the drawing like that. And then we would be like, oh yeah, that looks good, just right where I wanted it. He would cringe, because what did I just do but ruin the drawing or the floor plan, made it really weird. And he would just get angry with us. But then we would just do Control Z, undo. It was just our joke of saying, hey, we know that you're standing behind us, breathing down our necks. So there we go. So that's stretch. All right, let's move on to rotate, mirror, and scale. Both commands you'll use all the time. So let's rotate this rectangle here. So I'm going to just select it, and I'm going to click rotate. Okay, now it says specify base point, which is the point about where you'll rotate. So I'll say here. Now it says specify rotation angle, or let's see, you can do other things. So you can look at the bottom of the screen there. I'm just going to move my command bar. Or you can make a copy as you rotate, or a reference as you rotate. Let's just do basic rotation. I'm just going to eyeball it. I want to rotate it over here. Okay, let's do that again. So I'm going to select the object, click rotate it about the center, and rotate it down to there. All right. So I'm going to grab this rectangle. I'm going to click move, bring it over here, and I'm going to show you some more rotate. So I'm going to select the object. I'm going to say rotate about this point. Okay. Now I'm going to just type in 45. So right now I'm on the horizontal, right where it was, that's 0. And I'm going to angle it up, and I'm just going to type in 45, hit enter. And now it went this line that rotated. So this is exactly at 45 degrees. Okay. Now I'm going to hit rotate again, and I'm going to type in 90. Okay. Now it went from 45, 90 degrees from the 45, not to 90. Okay. Not to the global 90, if you will. We could do it that. So we've done it 2 ways there. We've entered a degree, and one that we've sort of eyeballed it. I think we'll leave it there. I'm just going to show you one more thing on rotate. Let me just go back. Okay. So I'm going to click the object. So I did Control Z to bring it back. You can pick a different object if you like. I'm going to go to rotate. I'm going to specify the base point, and I'm going to say, it says specify rotation angle, or copy or reference. Okay. So when you see something in the parentheses there, those are other options for this tool. Okay. If I want to rotate it 45 degrees, but I want it to be a copy, I want to leave this one here, I'm going to type in C right now for copy, because that's the capital letter of that word. And I would type in R for reference. That's a different tool, and we'll hold on that. But let's just type in C for copy. Okay, now it knows to make a copy. And now it's like asking for, okay, I understand that you want your rotation to be a copy, but what angle now? I could eyeball it and click, or I could type in 45. Okay, so now I still have the one horizontal, and I copied and rotated up to the 45. So maybe I would just run through that a couple times if I were you. So just eyeball rotation, angle rotation, and then copy rotation. I think that's perfect to start with. Next tool on the list is mirror. So Let's say we want to take these two objects and mirror it about a vertical line that I place, say, right here, so that it flips over this vertical line and I get copies of it. Okay, so let's grab these two objects. Let's click mirror and do what it tells us. It says specify a first point of mirror line. Okay, I'll do the mirror line starting up here. Click, drag my mouse down and click again. And it says, after I clicked again, it does this right away. Do you want to erase these source objects or do you want to keep them? I don't want to erase them. I want to keep them. No. Okay, so now I have perfectly mirrored about midway between the space here. Why would you want to use mirror? Well, many reasons, and you'll use them all the time. Let's say you have a symmetrical house where if I'm looking at the front door, I got a door or a window here, a window here, a window here, and a window here. Let's say I drew these windows and I still have yet to draw these other ones. Why would I draw them all from scratch when I can just select these windows and mirror them about the door in the middle? So I can bring them right over and I don't have to draw everything again. So I could have, let's mirror this again. So I'm going to grab these two, go to mirror. I'm going to give it a different mirror line. So I'm just going to draw it arbitrarily. I'll say, oh, right there. Erase source objects. No, if I say yes here, those go away and you're left with your mirrored copies. Very useful tool. You'll use that one all the time. Okay, let's go to scale. So sometimes you want to say, make this 10% bigger, 20% bigger, 25% bigger, something like that. Or you have a known distance here and you want to know exactly that instead of this being so big, you want it to be X, Y, or Z. Okay. So before I show you the scale tool, I just want to show you how to measure something. How do I know how big something is? The tool for that, besides just clicking on something, like when we just would click on, say, a line like that one, and I can look in properties here and I can see that that's so big. How do I, like for something like this, how do I know how long this is? So if I click on it, the whole object selects and I don't really get the answer over there in properties. So I'm going to use the command dist. I literally use this all the time. D-I-S-T, dist, D-I-S-T, enter. Specify first point. Okay, here to here. If I just hold it there, it's already telling me 10.5 inches, or I can click it and it'll tell me in that little box there, 10.5 inches. Let's say I want that to be 1 foot. Okay, so let's run through the scale command. So before I change it to the 1 foot, I want to show you the percentage way of making something bigger or smaller. So I'm going to select this box and I'm going to click scale, specify base point, the point at which to get bigger from. I'll say this point. Specify scale factor or copy or reference. Okay, so let's just specify a scale factor. I want this to be 25% bigger, 1.25, 1.25, enter. There, got 25% bigger. Okay, I just did Control Z. Let me just do that again. I did Control Z to bring it back just to show you again. Okay, scale. Select that base point. Let's make this twice as big. Instead of 1.25, which would only be 25% bigger, let's do 2. Now it's double the size. Okay. Now I'm going to do Control Z, bring it back. Now let's say instead of using percentages, I want to make this bottom line exactly 1 foot, not 10.5 inches. All right. This is a little more complicated, but I want to show you because I use it again all the time. Here's an example. I have a door, it's 30 inches, and the door next to it needs to be 32 inches. This is an easy way just to say, hey, make this door that's this wide, this wide. Okay, so I'm going to select the box, I'm going to go to scale, give it a base point, click right here. Okay, specify scale factor, or let's do reference. We're going to give it a new reference length. So I'm going to type an R for that because R is the capital letter. Hit enter. Okay, specify reference length. So this is where I say, hey CAD, take this dimension. So I clicked once on the end to here. Take that dimension. So I clicked once on the end, once on the other end. I said, take that dimension, and now it says specify new length. Make it 1 foot. Enter. Now, if I do DIST for dist and measure that, that's exactly 1 foot. So I said, hey, take that, make it this big. Let me do that one more time, but this time I'll do it on the vertical. Okay. Now I've always been selecting and going to scale, but let's just use the quick command, SC at scale. Okay, enter. Select objects, this one. Okay, I'm done selecting because this is the only one I want to scale. Enter. Specify base point. Okay, let's do this corner. Okay, specify scale factor or reference. Let's do a reference, R. Okay, now it says specify the reference length. Okay, I want this length from here to here. There's my 2 clicks. Specify new length to be 3 feet. Enter. Now you can see how big this thing got. Okay, so again, we use that one all the time. Now I'm going to undo that. Now let's say you just wanted to not make everything proportionally bigger, but you just want it to get taller. I want the vertical length to be 3 feet, but I want the horizontal length to stay what it is. We'll use the same command you already learned, which is stretch. So I'm going to go S. Let's see how big it is now. Dist. 2 and some inches. Okay. So first off, that's a weird length, but I would try to get that to something that we know. So let's just move it up 10 inches. S, I'm going to grab this point, move this up. S, enter. Grab that corner using my selection box. Hit enter again. I'm done selecting. I'll move this up 10 inches, enter. So now I moved that up 10 inches. So now this is about a foot. Now I can move this up 2 feet, and I would have it at 3 feet. Now, if you want to move that one up too, you could do the same technique. So we used scale there and stretch, but for scale, I think the 2 ways I really want to sink in your mind, though, are by scale factor, 1.25, 2, 3 times as big, 4 times as big, and scale by reference, because you will definitely use that all the time. Okay, let's just move down the line here to trim, fillet, and array. I don't really use that one, that option, but trim and fillet. Let me look in trim. Trim also has extend. So let's do trim, extend, and fillet. 3 commands I use literally all the time. Okay, so let me just consult the list, make sure we're on target here. Yeah, we're in trim, extend, fillet, and then we'll sort of move down from there. Okay, for trim, let's do this. I'm just going to draw a line right through here. L, enter. I'm going to put a line arbitrarily through there. Let's say I want to cut this box at this line so that this line and this line aren't there, but these lines are all there. Okay, so I'm going to trim it. I'm going to trim it about this line. So the quick command is TR, or you can go ahead and select the trim tool up here. So I'll click trim here. Okay, select trim objects or blank. I'm just going to select this and hit enter. Okay, trim. Let's see what happens here. So I've selected all the objects. Now I can go in. I'm just hovering over this line And CAD is saying, you want to trim this? Yeah. Trim that and trim that. Okay, I'm done. Hit enter, we're done. Now you have a line over here and then you have the 3 over there. I can just delete this line, I can delete that cut line, and I'm back. I cut this right where I wanted to. So I could do that again. I'm going to show you a faster way to do it, but let's do this. So trim, select objects. I'm just going to make a selection box from upper left to bottom right. So everything in that box that is in there will get selected, and click again and say, okay, I'm done selecting. And now I'm going to trim here and here and here and there. Okay, and hit enter, and we're done. And now I've got the shapes that I wanted. Okay, here's a faster way to do it. Okay, just remember this. TR, enter, enter. Okay, TR, trim, enter, enter. TR, enter, enter. Okay, if you do that, then I can just trim whatever I want. I don't need to have some sort of, let's see here. I don't need to have any sort of object selected to begin the trim. I can just say trim, enter, enter, and then go about my business and trim whatever it is I want. So take all these lines, for example. TR, enter, enter, boom, boom, boom. It's just going to trim to the next geometry. So this line is going to trim to here and to here, and boom, and I can just select that way. My humble opinion, that's all you need to know about trim, TR, enter, enter. I never do it any other way. Okay, and it's super quick. Okay, so likewise, let's say I got a line. I'm going to make another line, say down here. And I want to extend this to that line and extend this to that line. Okay, trim's counterpart is extend. EX, EX, extend, enter, enter. Boom, 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 boom. So basically, I can click any line. Now, these were drawn with probably polylines. That's why it's kind of giving me a weird solution there. But I can sort of extend anywhere that the line wants to go. So there we go. Boom, boom, boom. So EX, enter, enter, TR, enter, enter. Trim them up or make them longer. That's really the two things you need to know for that, and super useful. We'll use it all the time. Okay. So TR, enter, enter, and EX, enter, enter. Okay. Next command. Now, just keep in mind, you can always press the buttons up there and just do what the command line tells you. That's perfectly legal, perfectly fine. I'm just, in my experience, I got used to using TR, enter, enter, and EX, enter, enter. Okay, next command, fillet or fillet, or that's about it. So that's basically say, hey, take these two lines and either bring them together, or take these two lines and put a cool like curve in between them, a perfect sort of rounded corner. So take this corner, for example. Let's say we want to round that. Let's say I want to make a nice 1-inch rounded edge. Okay, so the command for that is fillet. So I'm going to just type in F for fillet. Now it says select first object, or here are these other options. The one option you have to be aware of in there is radius. So right now, I don't even know what the radius is set to. Okay, so if I clicked two lines that were touching, I bet since we just started this file that the radius set to 0, so it'll just come together at a corner. But if it's something else, then you're going to get a curve in there. So I'm going to type in R for radius. Okay, I can see that it's set to 0, 0. I'm looking in the command bar, and I'm going to put 1 inch, enter. I just changed it to 1 inch. Now I'm going to select here, and I'm going to select there, and I get a nice 1 inch radius curve that's connecting those two lines. Super useful. Okay, now I'm going to do that again. F, enter, R, enter. I'm going to do 2 inch, enter. I'm going to grab this line and this line, and you can see how it gets even more of a curve. F, enter, R, enter, 5 inch, enter. There and there, and there it goes. Okay, let's do a little one here. F, enter, R, enter, 1 inch, enter. Very nice. Let's do a nice curve here. F, enter. Now, instead of changing the radius, I'm just going to leave it at 1 inch. So I just did F, enter. I don't need to go into R because I'm not going to change it. I'm going to click here and this line here. And look at that. I got a cool curve moving along here. So that's another way to make curves, much like we used the this one, splines to make a curve. This is a much more organized curve, I guess you could say. Now, let's say I want the radius between here and this line to be, let's do this one. This one and this one to be 10 feet. Nice, like gradual curve, okay? Now watch what happens. F, enter, R, enter. Looks like family's home. Let me pause for a second here and continue in 1 second. Okay. I just had to pause it there and we should be good to go. So like I said, a 10-foot radius. Let's do F, enter, R, enter, 10 feet. Okay, I'm going to click here and click here. Now look what it says. Fillet radius is too large. If I click, it just says invalid, does not compute. So the idea there is that the length of this line or the length of that line is not even 10 feet. So it can't kind of make that curve. So that's why we can't get that. So something to keep in mind is that you have to have your radius set to a value that's under the length of the line. Okay, that is fillet. All right, let me just look on the list here. Hey, buddy. Okay, couple more to go. I'm just going to pause it, tend to the child, and then we will continue. Okay, and we're back. All right, so let's move on to array and offset. Array is one that I actually don't use all that much, but offset I do all the time. So I'm just going to make a new line up here. Okay, so array is a sort of quick copy tool where I could make 10 copies very quickly. And this is something I'm going to have to kind of feel my way through because I just don't use it that much. And you may find uses for it, but let's see. So I'm going to select this object and I'm just going to click down the array path, polar array. Let's just do rectangular array for now. Oh, look at that. It gives us a whole slew of different options up here. So it's giving us, let me just extend this out. There we go. Look at that. I can edit the array and I can look at the numbers up here. So I have 2 rows, 36 columns. Looks like 1 inch in between. Let's change it to 2 inch. There we go, and it spreads out. Total length is 5'10". So let me just try putting 7 foot ones. So I gotta increase these 3 inch. If I were you, okay, if you see this up here on your screen in this array creation here, all these different controls, and you need to get out of it, you can just hit the green check on the far right, and there, now you just have this giant array of lines that would have taken a little longer just to copy them over. Again, not really all that useful. Let me undo it. Let me just show you another one. I'm going to grab that line and I'm going to click on array and I'm going to do polar array. Select center point of array. I'll click right here. Okay. Now I'm looking up here. It looks like there's 6 items. Let's change this to 12. Big change. Let's see. Distance between 15. Oh, there it did. It did change. There we go. This has changed from last time. So let's try 5 degrees. There we go. So here's my vertical line. It made a copy every 5 degrees and it made 12 of them. So let's increase this to 20. There we go. Between it did every 3 degrees. Let's do 5 again. Okay. So if I change this to 30, it's going to keep the same extents unless I change this to say 8. There. And now it's sort of overlapping on itself too. So I think that the polar array can be somewhat useful some of the time, but I just don't use it all that much. I'm going to go ahead and close array. So you have this crazy kind of sphere, if you will, over there. Play with it. See if you find some use for it, and just kind of get to know it. And you might find some use for it when we do the architectural drawings. See what happens. Okay, let's do the offset command, another tool I use pretty much all the time. That's this one right here. See that? Offset. It's this, looks like a sideways U or a C, however you want to look at it. The quick command for offset is OF or just O. Okay. O, I'm just used to kind of starting to type out the word. So offset, specify offset distance. I'm going to say 3 inches, enter, and then I can select anything and give it, I click this line and I give it a direction. So it's saying, do you want to offset this side or this side? So let's do this side. I can do it again. I can do it again, and I can do it again. So it's almost like copying, but you're using the offset command to make the copies. Let's try the spline. That's a little goofy, but that actually kind of worked. Sometimes that doesn't work. Okay, let's do this polygon. O, enter. Offset distance, 3 inch. I'll keep that. Enter. And keep bringing this guy out. That's kind of cool. There we go. There's another polyline. So I can just kind of go all over my drawing and keep offsetting this. Now, you'll use this quite a bit. So like maybe if I'm going to draw the floor plan, say for this room, maybe I'll start with the interior line of the wall, but I know my wall is say 8 inches thick. Then I'll just offset that line 8 inches. And then I have a nice thick double line that is the thickness of the wall. We'll get into that more in floor plans. So put offset in your mind because you're going to use that one a lot. So some of these other ones here I don't use as much, but we might as well go through them real quick. So break, join, overkill, draw, order, erase, and explode. Erase and explode I use all the time, but let's see here. Break. We're doing break here. Let's see if there's a quick button up here for break. Lengthen. You can play with these as you see fit. I think this might be it. Break. Okay. Breaks the selected object between 2 points. So I'm going to go ahead and click on modify, click on break. And I'm going to say select this object, and then I'm going to select. So right where I selected it, it wants me to add another point. I'll do one there. So from where I initially selected the object to there, I made a break. Don't really use this one that much, but maybe on this, let's break this line. I'll go to modify. I'll break it. I'll say, hey, break this object here to this intersection. Now, if I select that line, I have a line over here and a line over here. A good way to sort of keep both ends of the line and they're 2 separate objects. Another way to do that, just trim out this part and then move this line wherever you need it, move that line wherever you need it. Super simple. So that's break. Join. Join, I don't, it's basically turning a line. This. So these two, turn this line into a polyline. You're sort of joining it. So I'm just going to type in join. Select source object. Here we go. Select object to join this one and hit enter. And now it's one thing. So basically it takes a series of lines and can connect them into one polyline. A good way to be clean in CAD for sure. So say the extents of this room, 4 lines. Okay, I'm not thinking about doors or windows or anything like that. It's 4 lines for the inside edge of this wall. I could have that as 4 separate lines, or I could have that as one object, like a rectangle, all joined together. So that's join. Overkill, I'm going to hold on because we'll get into that. And same with draw order. That draw order basically means it really becomes important for when we get into line weights. So if I have a dark line weight and then I drew a light line weight sort of over it, this light line weight will trump the line weight of the darker one. So you always want your darkest line weights to really show the most. They hit the eye first, and then the lighter line weights can happen after that. So we can reorganize our drawing to make sure we have everything in the right order. So all your objects and lines are stacked correctly so that when they print, we're not getting any sort of weird anomalies. Next is erase, which we've done quite a bit. So that's quite simple. So that's just selecting a line, hitting delete. There is an erase button, which is to the right of trim, at least on my screen. I'm just going to select that. It says select objects. So I'm selecting all these objects. They're kind of expressing themselves lighter as saying, hey, we're going to delete these, and hit enter and they'll go away. So multiple ways to get rid of things. Another really useful tool is right below it, which is right below erase, which is explode. So I've showed you a way to go from multiple lines to one line using the join command. You can do the reverse process, which is called explode. So I want to turn this 4-sided rectangle into 4 separate lines. So I'm going to type explode. Let's select this object and hit enter. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 separate lines. Super useful. When you have things all kind of stuck together, we can explode them and break them up if need be. So it just depends on how you initially drew things. So take this array, for example. Let's try this. I'm going to type in explode. Let's try to explode that. I don't know what's going to happen, but hit enter. There, that worked out perfect. So we had one like array tool here. Now it's just a series of lines stacked on each other there. So again, super useful. You're going to use explode all the time. Okay, so let me check the list here. Okay, that should do it for modify commands. Definitely throwing a lot of information at you this week, but hopefully you're not overloaded. But you can always break up watching these lectures. So a couple other things on here are some nice quick commands for kind of how you view your model in your model space. So I already have been using Control G quite a bit, so that's turning the grid on and off. So you can see that grid in the background. Control G turns it off, Control G turns it on. Good to know if you're seeing something that's not looking like my screen and you want things to work. Toggle on and off object snaps, Control F. So Control F, it says O snap off. See that right there? Okay, so now when I draw a line, for example, it's not going to snap to the end of an existing line or anything like that because I turned all my snaps off. So if I do Control F, turn them back on, draw a line, L, enter, Now you can see, hey, do you want to start a line here? You want to start a line here? It'll help you kind of snap to existing objects in your model space. Another way to turn that on and off instead of Control F is just click this button right here. See that little square down there? Turns them on and off. And this little down arrow tells you what snaps are currently on. So you can play around with those. You can turn this on and off and just see how it feels to draw. I would keep your object snaps on to make sure that you have the adequate precision in your models. You don't want to zoom in on a model like this intersection here and see that these lines are just missing each other or whatever the case may be. That is bad manners in CAD. Okay, manage drawings, pretty simple. Control S will always be save, or you can hit the little disk button, or you can hit the big A and hit save. It just depends on how you want to do it. Control O just opens a brand new drawing. Control Tab is actually kind of useful. Let's see here. Okay. Control Tab will flip between the tabs you have up here. So let's say you have floor plans open and see 5 other drawings open. You can just hit Control Tab and navigate through them pretty quickly. Very useful. Definitely do use that one. Clean screen, properties, and command line. These are just turning things on and off. So the properties are already open over here. So what was that? Control 1 will turn the properties on and off. Let's see, Control 1. Yep, there are the properties off, properties on. Control 0 says clean screen. That basically takes away all of your tools. So if you're really good with quick commands, you could just stay in clean screen the whole time. That's Control 0. So if you know all your keyboard commands up here, then you don't need to go up here very often, except maybe for layer management, which we'll get into. Okay, other than that, command line, Control 9, that turns that on and off. And then there's some other ones on here that I'll let you sort of play around with. You can just sort of see what they do. Multiple ways of doing the same thing. So turning the grid on and off, you can also press F7 for that, for example. So Control G or F7 does the same thing. F3, toggle object snaps, turning that on and off is the same as Control F, for example. So it just depends on how you want to do it. And then Control A, Control C, Control X, Control V, much like, say, Microsoft Word or a program like that, where you can copy things, paste things. Control Z, you can undo things. Things like that that you're probably already used to in other programs. Not super important right now, but just tuck them in your head. But I would say the most important things of the last couple lectures are the basic drawing commands and the modify commands. All right, guys, I'm trying to make these lectures short, but it's just dragging on here a little bit, so I apologize for the length. But okay, hit me up with any questions if you need to.